Hello and welcome back to Silk Pod for my commentary on Love is Blind US Season 10, Episode 10, where we leave off with Chris and Bree at the mixer still. Can someone tell me why we're still doing this and following this? But anyways, during Chris's whole drunk shenanigan about wanting to be with Bree now, he is asked why he didn't talk to her at Cabo about this. Chris says he regrets not doing so. Okay. And he continues to ramble about how Bree has been with loser dudes, like as if he has the audacity to say that. How Chris has a vision of 5, 10, 20 years from now, even though that is not true, as evidenced by his ex on social media, talking about his significant credit card debt, and has the drunk nerve to talk about, uh, give me a second, about how based on Bree's Instagram, they could have been fuck buddies. Okay. So, Chris, why did you go on this show if you just wanted to fuck some girls? Didn't have to be Love is Blind, did it? Anywho, he goes on to ask Bree why she didn't ask for his number to call him after that DM thing, and Bree rightly points to her engagement ring. Chris also brings up whether Bree even likes Mr. Brightside, I guess as a dig to Connor. Okay. And yeah, I do want to mention a little bit about Bree not being able to shut down the whole conversation, and probably a lot of people watching the episodes feeling like Bree is kind of um she's engaging with Chris, right? She still feels some kind of attraction to Chris, which I don't really understand at this point. Um, but I don't know. I have mixed feelings about that. I don't really know what it is, but something is definitely off with Bree. Um, But yeah, what really triggered me, even though it's so brief, is when Chris, under his breath, I'm sorry, talks about does he seem like an Andrew Tate guy? Like what? Where did that come from? Um, Bree says he doesn't know who that is. Doubt, but wow, that was yeah, that just rubbed me off the wrong way about what type of person Chris is. Oof. Let's move away from that mess. We go to Kevin saying hi to Emma and Kia. I will say this again and again. Get this man, boy, off my screen. Why is he still on Love is Blind? He needs to get off my screen. His sitting with the girls, Amber's hugging Kia, I guess, to like maneuver this weird situation. And guys, just watching in person how Kevin is communicating with different girls, it just feels so awkward. I guess it's still his slow way of talking, and then just this sense of uncertainty. But then, of course, he throws some compliments about Kia and how great of a woman she is. And I'm just like, stop, dude, stop, stop, stop. Is that all you can say to these girls? Like, is that all you can say? And obviously, Ashley rightfully tells Kevin, look, if he liked Kia, he just needed to step it up, right? Um, but obviously, Kevin was indecisive, and obviously, like Kia said in previous episodes in the pods, he just wasn't ready for marriage. End of story. Um, Kevin does apologize and says that he respects Kia's choice to choose herself at the pods. But at this point, we're done with Kevin. Can we please move on from this boy? He is so irrelevant right now. Okay. Then we switch to 2 seconds of Connor checking in with Bree. But wow, we got this whole mess. I have so many notes on this. Damn. We have Priyanka and Alex talking with Ashley. We already knew from the previous episode that Priyanka and Alex knew each other with the same friend group. And I had a feeling Netflix was going to somehow bring Priyanka into this mix. I see you, producers. Now, I don't do commentary like the other React videos, pulling apart every single sentence Alex says and how he defends himself because I'm not great at detective work. But look, I don't need to decipher everything he says to know that he's full of shit. And it's annoying how he says everything with confidence, but then oddly enough, with also so much defensiveness. And it's just not looking good, right? I don't know. He's just starting to remind me of someone. I can't put my name to it. But really, really annoying and very triggering overall, anyways. Um, what I did love about this conversation is that Priyanka didn't have to engage, right? She could have sided with Alex as, I guess, technically a friend or former friend or whatever their situation was. But after she hears Alex talking about this whole, like, technically when he saw his exes and where he was, and blah 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 blah. I'm not gonna track it. Priyanka picks up on the bullshit too, and I love that she calls out on it too, as an outsider looking in, hearing the conversations, hearing both sides, and and Alex ends up saying, "Yo, it's becoming a 2-on-1. I'm feeling a little attacked." Um, rightfully so, anyways. Um, and he says the reason he doesn't want to live in Austin has nothing to do with his ex. Yeah, sure, boy. And he gave this stupid example. Don't quote me on this. Something like, "Would you remember the details of what you did 2 Wednesdays ago?" I That's not what he said, but something along those lines, right? And it's like, no, you don't. But we're talking about a whole chunk of history with this ex that you apparently did a hookup on, and possibly if we're understanding this timeline correctly and objectively, he was technically cheating on a different girl he was dating. Not exclusive, so not necessarily cheating in his eyes, but still, just the timeline's just a mess either way. So we're gonna move on from that. Um, yeah. Eventually, Priyanka talks about how Ash and Alex just continue to talk it out with them, and Alex says, "Okay, so why are you here? If it's a conversation between me and her, why are you here?" Which is like, what the hell, dude? So rightfully, Priyanka tells her, "Don't be snappy with her. Just talk it out with Ashley and so leave the convo." What the hell, Alex? He's getting so defensive because he wants to always be right. I think that's what it is. He always wants to be right. He wants to be respected. Um, and he just hates being under the fire. But he did that to himself. He dug his own hole. Um, and I'm glad Ashley is picking up on all the inconsistencies and the mixed storylines. And she's voicing how she legitimately feels, and you know that's all great. um we end that conversation with Ashley telling Alex it's in his hands where the relationship goes. It should already be, it should have been done 3 days ago, right? And I know if Ashley's dad was seeing this episode, woo, would he have a few things to say. um Yeah, this episode's kind of crazy. I can't believe there's still more to go. After that craziness, we go to Chris, as if Chris is still relevant to Love is Blind. Holy shit, why is he holding Jess's shoulders like they're still dating? Jess has way too much patience. If I was her, I would have bitch slapped him right there and be like, "Why the fuck are you touching me?" Oh my god, everything about Chris is just so annoying. Anyways, Chris wants to talk to Jess privately. Sees that's okay. I don't know why. She could have said no. I don't know if producers were like, "Hey, just talk to him and hear him out." Whatever. Anyways, Chris, yet again, tells her how he's sorry he came off mean, and he has the audacity to tell Jessica he does find her attractive. Why would you say that? What are you doing? Like, it's over. And he talks about how Jessica must hate him and he doesn't really know him as a person. Yo, the whole world watching this show knows who you are, Chris. Just stop. Just stop. Jess says she doesn't hate him. You should, girl. But says that she's just really hurt. Valid feelings. Chris, what a disgusting piece of shit. No other comment. We are going to move on before I go on a whole rant about this. Mm. Moving on. Um, Thankfully, we transitioned to some couples like Vic and Christine, just doing some cutesy kiss scenes and being lovey-dovey and all that stuff. Love to see it. But that doesn't last long because we have this weird scene with Jordan and Amber. um Jordan's talking to the boys, mainly to Vic, about I guess his not anxieties, but concerns, I guess fears around meeting Emma, which is Amber's kid, right? And I guess Amber eavesdropped or overheard. Let me not say eavesdropped. She overheard a conversation. I guess she got really upset. I was a little confused when I was watching this scene. Um, I guess she wasn't happy about that. And yeah, Jordan follows her and tries to clarify with her that she's misunderstanding. Let's talk. Blah blah blah. There's a bigger scene later in this episode, so let me put a pause on that and let's just move on to what happens next. What happens next is Bree and Connor, with Bree sharing Connor the things Chris told her at the mixer about how attractive he finds her, and now she's gonna be his number one, and blah blah blah. Why didn't she call him, and all that stuff, which is true, which is technically true, but also why didn't you shut down the conversation during that moment? Anyways, and Connor comments about Chris dapped him up afterwards. Wow, 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 wow. Mad disrespectful. Um, Connor has so much patience not to beat the shit out of him right there. But anyways, because he can, because Chris is a shorty, right? Um, yeah, Bree and Connor both agree in this conversation that Chris did a whole 180 on his personality. And Bree is actually the one that says maybe it's best to cut complete contact with Chris and not engage further by replying to the DMs and, you know, making it longer than it has to be, which I totally agree with, but I don't believe her. I don't believe her. So we just gotta see it to believe it, right? Connor says that he trusts her, trusts Bree, even if it makes him jealous. Oh Connor, my sweet boy. Um, Honestly, Connor really grew on me. Maybe it's because of Bree and Chris, but Connor really grew on me. Of course, he has things to work on, but he's so sweet, and I think he actually does love Bree. Maybe I'm looking at this too positively on Connor, but I think he really loves Bree, and it's really sweet. Um, I would hate to see his heart broken, but I also don't think they should get married. We'll just have to see what happens. Um, we then finally skip to some wholesome scenes, with Christine and Vic. I guess shopping for flowers for their bouquet. Cute. Emma and Mike, I guess, talking about some wedding designs, and Emma wants his input more. And Emma likes more greenery and stuff. Cool. And then Devontae getting his lashes done by Brittany. Ooh. And they do have some finance talk on the couch, which is important to talk about for sure. I just don't know if this couple is the right fit for several reasons. But yeah, good convo to have. At Grand Rapids, Connor finally meets Bree's father, but we are only shown some nice photos of the family together. And it looks like this whole thing was off camera, which is completely fine. I respect families' decisions to be on or off camera, so I will not speak on that further. Okay. Oh boy, oh boy, oh boy. Now we're going to talk about Amber and Jordan. Ooh, wait. Jordan says he needs a breather after a beatdown like that, but doesn't know how to deal with her silence. I wouldn't either. Amber eventually comes out, um, and she talks with Jordan. All right, I have different feelings about this. I have empathy for both. Gonna put them on the table, right? There might be strong opinions online about this scene, but I have empathy for both sides. Even though it's starting to make me question, perhaps this is not a couple that's ready to get married together, and probably not the best fit. So, from Amber's perspective, The issues he had was with how Jordan shared about his feelings around meeting Emma. He shared that with the boys and with Vic instead of communicating that with her. I maybe she felt blindsided. Maybe Jordan sugarcoated a lot of how he was feelings around Amber. But that's really where Amber is upset about. Um, she she doesn't seem upset about the fact that Jordan has very legit concerns and fears around meeting Emma. Amber does validate those feelings, but was wondering when these feelings first came up. Jordan says it happened maybe about a week ago as it got closer to wedding day and things felt more real, which I think there's truth to that. Um, Jordan expresses how he still loves Amber. His feelings from the pods has always been genuine. He just has very legit fears around Emma. And then we go into this conversation about how Amber finds it hard to trust men in general, especially with her past experiences. Jordan understandably says it feels unfair to be compared to these other douchebags, and that his always loved her for who she is, right? Um, yeah. Amber does say she does trust Jordan, but she sometimes gets into flight or fight mode. And they do make it up at the end with a hug. And Jordan shares that he hasn't eaten all day from anxiety of having this conversation. Um, what bothered me a little bit, I like this conversation because it kind of gives perspectives of both sides and what's kind of underlining certain insecurities and fears from both sides. But I don't feel it's fair for Jordan to tell Amber at the end. What did he say? He said that he will tell Amber as soon as he's feeling something, right? Um, I don't know because with my current partner, yes, I communicate and stuff, but there's times when I want to talk to the girls first, and it has nothing to do with trust. Um, I, and sometimes also, if I'm really upset or nervous or just some kind of negative emotion, I don't think my first instinct is always necessary to tell my partner. It could just be I need a minute to myself to process. Maybe I do want an outside opinion. Maybe I'll do anonymous post on Reddit, which I do. Um, I don't think I don't think that's necessarily a bad thing. If it's all the time, it's questionable, of course, but I don't know. I just don't think it's realistic to like as soon as I'm feeling these things, I will communicate it first thing to you. I don't think that's a promise Jordan necessarily needs to keep. So there's definitely something that's being brought up in Amber. Um and we already know Amber has different negative feelings around guys in general, which I totally get. I totally get. But maybe that just means he's not ready. And it could also mean Jordan's not ready, or maybe that they're not a match. Still have love for both of them. I just don't know based on this conversation whether they should get married at this point. We just have to put a pause on that thought and just see how it goes for the rest of the episodes. Okay. Now we're going to the boring part of the show with the tux and dress fittings. I could really care less about this. But first, let me first shout out Connor when he was talking to the boys, mainly with Vic, about the whole shenanigans with Chris. And I loved his comment about how, yo, Chris is 5'6". He shouldn't be even thinking that he can even steal Brie from him. Adorable. Love guys who says shit like that. Go Connor. He's, he's starting to get fans. I'm starting to become a fan of him. Yeah. So again, don't really care about the following scenes, especially the tuxes. Um, I'll be brief with my little comments here. Maybe I'll put some screenshot photos of the dresses. Maybe I won't. But this is how the episode ends, so I'll just briefly go over it. Christine goes through like 3 dresses. She says she's picky. Um, she likes the slit in dress number 3, but she's not a fan of the top. Blah blah blah. She looks good in anything, honestly. What do I know about wedding dresses? Mike goes with a black suit to match with Emma's green decor for the wedding venue. Brittany has a pre-bought dress, and I thought it looked beautiful on her. Connor with the bow tie, cute. That's all I have For Bree, both Bree's mom and Connor's mom were there, which is cute. And I felt that her dress was a different style than what I usually see. But I think it totally fits her. Um, I could really care less about how Alex looks in anything. Okay. Um, but he does talk about how he's not nervous when he's with his friends and he's actually excited and he feels normal about it. Yeah. Okay, dude. Moving on. Ashley, there's like these funny comments about her dresses. Her dress number one, people say she looks like a cake topper. Um, no comment. And dress number two, uh, her friends and family says that she looks like a wedding Barbie. And it fits her better. And yeah, other comments I have: Jordan looks better in the dark blue suit, in my opinion. And Amber's dress is exactly how I envisioned it. Lots of sparkles, lots of glittery glam. But she also says that her kid Emma loves sparkles and flowers, so there you go. Uh, it works out. The only lasting thought I have with this is, why hasn't Jordan met her child Emma yet? I feel like at this point they should have met, especially when Jordan met the father. So I don't know. I don't know what's going on with that, unless like behind the scenes, either Amber or Jordan already made up their mind and feel like it's best not to see the kid. I don't know. I don't know. But I just have a feeling something's going on, and the they're not gonna say yes. So if they're not gonna meet Emma yet, unless they meet the child like right before the wedding, which would be crazy. And that was it. That was it. Um, anyways, that was episode 10 of Love Is Blind US. Um, what a crazy roller coaster of an episode. Hope you guys enjoyed it, and I'll see you in the next one.